G'day guys and welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk about EPIRBs and PLBs. What are they? How do we use them? Which one do I carry? Why do we carry them? And a little bit about the maintenance and ongoing requirements for them, and what happens when you do need to activate them. So stay tuned and let's get into today's video. So guys, let's start with the big question. What is the difference between an EPIRB and a PLB? So an EPIRB is an emergency positioning indicating radio beacon, whereas a PLB is a personal locator beacon. Now they work very much in the same way. However, there are some minor differences that you want to take into account when looking at buying one for your setup. So first of all, an EPIRB is generally used for registration to a vehicle or primarily to a vessel. So EPIRBs are generally used for sea-based activities, and a PLB is something that I've got here, and it's normally registered to a person. So they are a little bit smaller, which is why they're sort of a bit of a benefit for vehicles and also for hikers, because they do fit into a pack a little bit easier. So EPIRBs and PLBs work off very much the same way. They both work off the 406 megahertz system. So when they're activated, it'll send a message to an international network of satellites, which will then be forwarded on to the relevant search and rescue areas. Now the advantage of having a PLB over an EPIRB for us four-wheel drivers and maybe some hikers and motorbike riders is that they are small and they're registered to a person. So this one here is registered to me, which means a couple of things. So first of all, if I were to activate this, they're going to have my basic data along with some of my next of kin details. Now another great thing about registering something like a PLB is that when you register it, you get to put down 3 contacts. So it's a good idea to put down your next of kin, someone who knows you quite well, and then maybe someone who never goes on trips with you. And the reason they're going to do that is because when you activate one of these, they're going to call the 3 people that you list as your contacts on this device. And if you're going to be traveling with those 3 people often, well then the odds are they're going to be in the same situation as you, and they're not going to be able to get the phone reception, hence why you're using the PLB in the first place. Another couple of minor differences between these is that not all PLBs float, whereas EPIRBs do. And again, that relates because EPIRBs are primarily designed for seagoing activities. Now another thing as well, generally the battery life on these are about 6 to 7 years, and when you activate them, they'll activate for a minimum of 24 hours. So they're going to constantly send out your position for 24 hours, whereas an EPIRB can last up to 48 hours and sometimes do have a slightly longer battery life when they are stored. Now with PLBs as well, there are no auto-activating features. So things like EPIRBs can be set to auto-activate when they're turned upside down. So for example, a capsized vessel, or when contacts on them touch water, and that would be a sunken vessel. PLBs do not have those features, and the reason they don't have them is because they're often traveled in compartments in your four-wheel drive, in a backpack when you're hiking, or on a motorbike. So the potential there for accidental activation is much higher, hence you have to manually activate these. So this little device that I've got here is my PLB. This is a GME MT410, and this is only a couple of years old, this one. So as you can see, they're quite small. They would fit into your pocket, they fit into the palm of your hand, and they do come with a lanyard as well. When it is activated, it will send a notification to an international search and rescue hub, which will provide my location, some basic details, and get me assistance no matter where I am. Now it does this by sending a message to an international network of satellites called the COSPAS SARSAT International Satellite System. And with one of these, you know it's going to work. It sends a 406 megahertz signal, and as long as it can get that signal to those satellites, someone is going to be notified of your location and the fact that you need help or are in distress. So guys, this is all that I carry in my vehicle for emergency communication. There are some limitations, and again I'll get into that in just a moment, but right now we're on the Woodlines track. So this is not a very frequently used track, and we're 120 kilometers from the nearest town or the nearest anything. We are by ourselves out here. I'm solo camping and it's one vehicle. So if something goes wrong, that's it. I'm stuck here and there's not much I can do until someone comes to help. There's no way I'm going to be making it back 120 kilometers, and even the next main road or camp is still a fair hike away. Now I'll get into later on what to do in an emergency situation, but it is not advisable to leave your car in any circumstance. Okay guys, so this unit here, the GME MT410G, a couple of quick things about it. First of all, its size. As you can see, it is quite small. Fits in the palm of my hand here, and it does have an antenna on the back that would pull up and sit a little way above it when it is activated. Comes with a lanyard as well, so you can tie that onto something or just have it around your neck, whatever you want to do. It does also come with a nice neoprene Velcro bag as well, and it comes with a belt hook, so if you wanted to stick it on your person while you're hiking, that is also possible. Now in terms of maintenance, for these there is nothing required. So when you buy these, they have a 7-year guaranteed battery life, and there is an expiry date on the side, and it will tell you when it needs to be replaced. So this unit here is October 2025. Now you can send these back to GME and they will replace the battery, do a serviceability test on it, and clean it all up and send it back to you, and you will get another period of 7 years later. For me personally though, I just tend to replace them. I deregister this one and buy a new one. Normally the technology has changed in 7 years, and I know that I'm going to get a nice fresh unit, and it's only about $100 more. That brings me on to cost. So the cost of this unit in Australia is about $350. So if you think about that, that is not a whole lot when you consider it lasts 7 years. So it's less than $50 per year to ensure that you and your family are going to be safe when you're hitting those tracks. Great thing about PLBs, there are no ongoing costs or subscriptions, so there's no need to be paying, say, $99 a year to make sure that you're registered to any company. Okay, so in order to test these, you do get this little key on a lanyard here. Now all you need to do is just to put this into the back of the unit here, slide down and then release. You'll hear there it beeps twice and there's a small light on the back, and that tells you that it is working correctly, the battery is still functioning, and this unit is still serviceable and ready to go in case of an emergency. So when do we need to activate a PLB? Now these PLBs here are used as a last resort only. So this is when nothing else has worked and you know that you're going to be stuck here for a while. You don't have a way out, you don't have a solution or any assistance coming for you, and you need some sort of immediate help. Now for example, if I had some sort of fatal electronic error in my cruiser overnight and it burnt to the ground, then this is what I'd be using to tell someone that I need some assistance where I am at the moment, as I can't walk back to the closest town. Now that brings me to another thing as well, is that where you pack these in your car is very important. You need to have them easily accessible, and for me, when I go camping, I also put them in a pack that goes in a tent with me. So if something like that were to happen and the car were to burn out for whatever reason in that unlikely event, this is still with me and I still have that communication. When you activate one of these, you are going to be using a significant amount of international and national resources, and if you do activate these in a non-emergency situation, you could be taking those resources away from a genuine emergency or hindering some other operations. So make sure that this is your last resort. People will come looking for you, and it will take a large crew of a network of people through different agencies to make sure that you are rescued. So make sure you use this only when absolutely needed. Okay guys, so this GME unit here, I'll quickly show you how to activate it. I'm not going to activate it obviously because it is a live and registered unit, but there is an antenna on the back of this unit here. There's a small little pinch clip down the bottom here, which you push in and lift this antenna up. There is a flexible antenna also coiled up with it, so when you do release that antenna up, it will point straight up and it will be approximately 40 to 50 centimeters above the unit itself. Once you've activated one of these units, what do you do and what are you going to expect? So obviously search and rescue missions take some time. So once you've activated that antenna, you stick it out in an open area, clear area, where it's going to get the best sort of communication with that international satellite network. After 60 seconds, this unit will activate, and there is a high intensity LED flashing light in this translucent section at the top of the unit, which will flash 20 times per minute. And also there is an audible alarm as well. So that is obviously to try and gain the attention of any person in your area, including those emergency services. Now because this is an Australian unit and it is registered to me here in Australia, that distress signal will be then transferred to the JRCC, which is the Joint Rescue Coordination Centre located in Canberra, Australia. Once they have the message, they will then attempt to contact those 3 contacts and make inquiries as to whether or not there is a genuine distress signal and whether or not they need to send out resources. So again, that's why it's important to make sure you have registered those contacts on your registration when you first buy these units. So once the JRCC has got that distress signal, they'll then determine whereabouts you are and which local authority to notify in order to progress those search and rescue operations. So if we use the example of where we are right now in the goldfields, we are in or near Coolgardie in Western Australia. So the local authority here is the WA Police Force. They'll be notified of this distress signal, and it's their job then to commence a search and rescue operation to get to your position and rescue you from the situation that you're in. So in WA, normally the first port of call for a remote area like we're in at the moment is to send up a plane. Now whether or not that be a local plane from Kalgoorlie, or whether it be the Challenger jet from Jandakot in Perth, either way they normally send up some sort of aircraft to try and get a visual on you and your location to make sure you're still there. Now this will then determine the next step. So if you're, say for example where I am at the moment on the Woodlines track, they'd be able to see the vehicle, they'd be able to see where I am, and then they will then send a vehicle down the Woodlines track to come and get me. Now I'm going to talk about an example of a land search recently conducted near Kalgoorlie. It was about an hour or so east of the Kalgoorlie town site, and a vehicle went out hunting and went well and truly off the marked track. It found itself bogged on the edge of a salt lake where it just simply couldn't self-recover. So they've activated their personal locator beacon, and it was the first port of call to send a Challenger jet over. Now the Challenger jet from Perth is, as it would suggest, a jet plane. Now it's got a lot of equipment on it, such as a FLIR camera and some other equipment that will help detect your heat signatures in the bush. Another great advantage of the Challenger jet from Perth is it has the ability to drop off emergency supply packages to stranded persons. So in this particular example, that technique was used and assisted in the recovery. So the 2 drops done at their location, and this contains supplies such as basic food, some water, and also a satellite phone as well. This enabled the search and rescue team to communicate with them and let them know what the plans were and the sort of time frame it was going to take. Now there were 2 vehicles deployed to go and to their location. Now due to the nature of the terrain and also not having a path to follow, it was very difficult to find them, and the 2 search and rescue vehicles that were sent out got bogged themselves, and it took them 7 hours to dig themselves out. Now that was an 11-hour round trip, and they still didn't get to those people who needed assistance. In that particular instance, it was 3 days from their personal locator beacon being activated, and a decision was made to send out a helicopter to go and pick them up and bring them back into Kalgoorlie. Now guys, when you activate these EPIRBs, there are several things you have to keep in mind. Okay, first of all, it is going to take some time. These things don't happen immediately, and obviously the people that are organising and then therefore the search and rescue crew coming out to you also need to be prepared to make sure they don't end up in the same situation you are. So it can take up to 3 or 4 days, maybe even longer if you're in a really remote, rugged area. So it is up to you guys to make sure that you are prepared for emergencies and have at least some basic supplies and an abundance of water to make sure you survive that waiting period. Now a big thing that I've seen in land searches previously is people waiting a couple of days and then leaving their cars, thinking that the signal hasn't been received or that no one's coming for them. Guys, if you activate one of these and it is working correctly, people are coming, and it is extremely important to stay with your vehicle. If you go walking off, especially if you are dehydrated or malnourished, you're going to make some decisions out there that you wouldn't ordinarily make, and it's going to put your life in extreme danger. Another thing to keep in mind, guys, is that search and rescue teams are not going to come and rescue your setup, okay? Which means that if my car just refuses to start today and I need to get back to town and I activate one of these, people who come and get me don't care about my car, okay? They're not going to get this car started, and they're not going to drive, lift, whatever. They're not going to move this car back to the town for you, okay? They're not a towage service. They're going to come and get you and take you back to town. If you refuse help, then you shouldn't have activated one of these in the first place. So that goes for caravaners, marine, hikers, whatever it is. You're only going to get rescued with what's on your person, okay? So be prepared to leave your gear behind. Make sure you know where it is. You can always come back and get it with the correct resources, but otherwise you're going to be leaving this behind. So this here is the only device that I carry. I don't carry things like satellite phones or spot trackers. I do have a UHF in the car, and obviously I do have normal Telstra signals on my phone. In terms of satellite phones, look, eventually they are going to become obsolete as the networks for phones increase and increase over time. I don't carry any sort of cell booster in the car. Again, I don't think they're worth it. If you have that little bit of reception that's required for those cell boosters anyway, the odds are you can at least send a text message to let someone know that you need assistance. Satellite phones and spot trackers, look, they're both expensive options, and some of them include ongoing subscription costs, and it's just not something that I'm willing to prepare to pay. Whereas I just pay a one-up payment. I got this on special for $299, and that's it for 7 years. I know that this is going to work no matter what, no matter where I am. Now, some of the limitations with this unit, and it's probably the only limitation with this unit, is the fact that it is one-way communication. So when you activate the distress signal, it's going to send an emergency distress signal out, but you're not going to receive any incoming messages. So people are not going to be able to communicate with you. You can't tell them what's going on. You can't tell them scenario, where you are, or confirm whether it's genuine. You're just going to have to sit and wait. If you activate one of these, the biggest thing is patience, okay? It is going to be a mental battle not to leave your car and start walking, especially if it's day 2 or 3 and you're still waiting and you have no idea whether anyone's coming for you. But I can guarantee you that if you have tested these, they work correctly, and it has activated, someone is coming. To stay with your vehicle. That is the most important thing. So look, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. These things are invaluable in terms of what they can do, and it will potentially save your life, and it has. These particular units have saved thousands of lives previously. So they're not very expensive. It is a very cheap insurance. It's basic, it's gonna save your life. Might not save your car, might not save your caravan, but it will save you and your family if you are remote. And look, definitely something I'd recommend if you are planning on going remote, especially in Australia. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any other questions or queries, or want me to clarify anything that I've mentioned in this video, you can either leave a comment in the description below, or you can hit us up on our Facebook page as well. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.